Hey everybody, welcome to a podcast. I think this is like my fourth time doing this from it being failed from all the other failing podcasts. We're gonna try and make this weekly. This is called the EnA Comics Podcast. I'm here with Alex. You can go ahead and say hi.
What's up?
I came up with this just because obviously I don't want to do news videos anymore. I thought it'd be a good idea to do just them and just go over stuff in a podcast, especially to get some debate going on. So this is gonna be our first one. I may do other things, like it might not be. One day we'll do like a news coverage, and then the other day will be like a creative thing. Like I don't know if you watched like the R&B experiment, but they did, I think a couple weeks ago, they did like if Batman dies in DC Metal. So we'll do something similar to like that soon. But today is gonna be covering all the news I've missed, all the recent news that I missed and want to cover. So let's get right into it. So we're here with Alex today, and our first thing we're going to go through is the Aquaman screen testing, which has been so far positive. They had him this Wednesday. James Wan is obviously director. We have some We have some news here that it's apparently a underwater Star Wars and I forget something else movie.
Star Wars Underwater.
Yeah, a Star Wars underwater movie with Mira as she's she's a love interest, but she's more of a co-star than a love interest, so that seems really promising. Black Manta is a secondary villain, and Patrick Wilson's character, I forget his name. Is it like the Orc or something? I'm blanking out here. Oh, it's Ocean Master. It's Ocean Master. Yeah, it's Ocean Master.
It might be the Orc, I believe.
It's Ocean Master.
Here's my deal. Okay, James Wan is a fantastic director.
Yeah.
He has done really good movies. So, him being behind the helm on this, I'm not going to kick and scream about it. I think he can handle it. Jason Momoa, although his lines weren't the best in Justice League, I think he really gave it his all, so he's a solid Aquaman.
Yeah.
So really, so long as the movie doesn't... As long as it keeps a consistent tone, and also, I want this to kind of have an epic scale to it because, Arthur is the king of these people, and I really want you to feel, the audience needs to feel that. So it can't just be him running around having goofy underwater adventures. I think this needs to be a bit more in the serious tone department.
Yeah, especially since DC's known for, they're known for the grounded storylines, but I really want this to be, really not, similar to the Wonder Woman film, where it's obviously still part of the DC Extended Universe, but it's its own story. It's a standalone story, similar to Black Panther, which I'll talk about later. But it's just its own story, and you get to really learn more about these characters. Because obviously, Aquaman was one of the biggest characters that came out of Justice League, which was very surprising because of all the water jokes with Aquaman. But even so, Aquaman is one of my favorite characters from the Justice League movie, and I really do want to see how Jason Momoa could really portray that character, because as you said, he didn't have the best lines, but you can really tell he really cares a lot about his character, and I really do want to see how he handles it. And Mira, I'm very excited to learn more about her, because just the way Amber Heard portrayed her as in Justice League, she seemed really serious about her role. She wasn't there just to bullshit, even though she only had a 3-minute cameo. I felt like she really is really excited about her role, and I really do want to see more with her.
I will say the underwater fight sequence in Justice League, it was one of my favorite scenes. So if it's just a 2-hour movie of that, I'm on board. I'm ready for it. And I have heard that the way they communicate underwater, it's going to be different versus the whole air bubble thing they came up with in Justice League. They're going to come up with a new thing, which it makes sense. You don't want there to be a repetitive scene of just, they have to do the air bubble, hold on, air bubble. It's I'm glad they're coming up with something new for that.
Yeah, we got some details. Apparently, they literally just talk underwater. I'm not sure about that, but I think I read it on BatmanNews.com. They had certain details, and James Wan was they're just going to talk underwater, just because they're not going to have air bubbles. And apparently, there was a scene that cut out that there was a reason why they were in an air bubble. But James Wan wants to keep it very simple. He just wants them to talk underwater. Now I don't know how that's gonna work. If there's gonna be a effect over their voice, or if they're just gonna normally talk underwater. But I would like to see that. I wouldn't like the constant air bubbles. I think that would just get repetitive at a point. You can do them if there's a certain situation. Say, I don't know, Jason Momoa gets knocked out and Mira has to help him recover or whatever. Like that's the reason where you can bring back the air bubble, but I just don't see the air bubble being a constant form of communication, especially since
They could do something. They could make it invisible. Like, I'm about to reference this old ass thing, but in SpongeBob, like some episodes, water used to be invisible because they were underwater.
yeah.
And I remember they did this gag where SpongeBob needed to get a drink of water, and he ran his sink and nothing was coming out because he's surrounded by water. They could do something like that where, there's an air bubble, you just can't see it.
Yeah. What else?
Like constantly around their head or something. It's like something like that.
What I really want to see in that movie too is just the way, like, I want to see his origins, because obviously the general audience doesn't know much about Aquaman. They don't know where he comes from, or how he is, and obviously we know that his father had an affair with the Queen of Atlantis. That's why Ocean Master is Aquaman's half brother. But I really do want to see like his origin story. Like, they didn't say any. They didn't really do anything with Justice League, and we kind of know.
His mother.
Hmm.
I could have sworn there was one line of dialogue about his mother in Justice League.
Oh yeah, I think Mirror mentions him. She goes, "The Queen would have never wanted this," or something like that. Like the Queen really yeah. But like, I really want to know more about like his human side, because obviously we didn't get to see his Arthur Curry. I mean, yeah, we did, but like, the village knew he was Aquaman, and I want to see how he interacts with people like that don't know he's Aquaman. Like how he interacts in like the real world, like a big city like a New York.
I want to see more of that village. I really like that whole. I like the concept of this village that kind of worships him.
Yeah.
Like, not so much as a king, but as just, oh my god, it's this mysterious stranger that saves our lives during the winter. I really like that. I really want to see more of that. I hope they don't just erase that from existence and no, he's just on some random beach.
Yeah, especially since it looks like there's history on it. Because in the movie, Bruce Wayne looks towards the painting on the wall, and it's the mother box and the Atlantis, and Bruce Wayne's like, oh, I'll double it for more if you talk about Atlantis. So I'm curious to see, like, if Atlantis is actually right there, because obviously Aquaman wouldn't just show up to that village for no reason. So there's obviously some connection to that village. Like that might be like, I think, where his father was from, because I think there was a shot of a lighthouse there, and in the comics, his father did live in a lighthouse. From what I remember, because I remember reading the Justice League New 52 comics. But yeah, I just want to. I do want to learn more about that village, just because it's an interesting concept, especially since they know he's Aquaman, and they don't say it to anybody. Like, everyone just around the village knows who he is, and they just don't question it.
I do have an idea. Maybe the village is kind of a cover-up for Atlantis, kind of like how, I'm going to jump to Black Panther real quick, but kind of like how, Wakanda is like, oh, it's this poor little nation, oh, look at these, villages and these, shepherd herders. That could be the village for Aquaman. Oh, it's this cover-up for Atlantis, so nobody goes scooping, like, digging around. Like, oh, it's just this crappy little fishing village, who cares? But underwater, it's this amazing utopia.
How do you think it's gonna look like? Do you think it's gonna look similar to like the Black Panther's Wakanda, like just complete CGI? Well, obviously you're gonna have to use CGI, but do you think it's gonna be like how it looks like similar to Wakanda? Or do you think it's gonna be like this underwater world we've never seen before?
I mean, I hope not. I really want it to be differently designed. The way I've always wanted to see Atlantis is kind of like this underwater light in the sky. I really want it to be this kind of bright place. Not something that's all dark and gloomy. Like, because, underwater is dark and gloomy. I really want it to be this kind of beacon in the water,
Just like glowing, basically, huh?
It's very, like, lit up. It's
yeah.
Very, golden. I think gold would be a primary color for Atlantis.
Like, I'll reference something too, like, outside of the comic books. If you played Legends of Zelda: The Breath of the Wild, there's a certain group called the Zoras, I think, right? The Zoras Domain? Like, I think that would be
the Zoras.
Yeah, that would...
Something like that.
Yeah.
I would say that with more gold.
Yeah, that would be a perfect concept for Atlantis. And I really would that, because even in the Breath of the Wild, they're above water. And even, like, you feel like that how do you call it? The aquatic feeling of that place. And that would be, like, really unique for an Aquaman movie.
I mean, really just look off of Nintendo if you ever want to succeed.
Yeah, because Nintendo's obviously doing a lot better. Breath of the Wild, by the way, is an amazing game. I'm just putting that out there. I've been
Terrific
stuck on
game.
it
I
for
love it. I still need to beat it, but yeah, I love it.
like I beat it like 3 times only because you know how it saves you at the it you're stuck at the ending when you beat it. But I'm trying to beat the side missions right now, but that's off topic. But it's a really great game. I would recommend anyone out there listening to play that game. It's great. I'm stuck on it. And yeah, so I think that kind of wraps the Aquaman screenings report up. So next I want to go is to something I missed, which, well, it's recently, but it's something I missed that I wanted to talk about, which is the Venom teaser. And this teaser clocked in, I think, a minute and 10 seconds. And I just want to put that out there that I know people are assuming, or people thinking like, oh, this trailer sucks, they didn't show anything. I will admit, when I first saw the teaser, I got that fan-made teaser vibe. Like, it felt like if you show this to just a random person without announcing there's a Venom movie, they would probably believe it's a fan teaser because it looks very similar to a fan teaser. But even seeing it at the Black Panther premiere, which I saw it, there's an entire crowd, and people saw the Marvel logo, obviously, so they knew it was a Marvel movie. But seeing it, as soon as Tom Hardy was screaming and it stopped and the V comes and the face comes up, people were like, whoa! Like, people were like whispering like, wow, that was a really great teaser. Like, oh man, that was beautiful. And yeah, I like the teaser. I think it's something we haven't seen before in a while. Like, it doesn't show much, and that's kind of what you want from a movie when you see a teaser. Like, you don't want everything thrown at you in the teaser, because obviously they're gonna have a few more trailers for marketing purposes, and you don't want to see what the story is up until the movie comes out. Obviously, like, you don't want people knowing what your movie is and predicting the outcome like months ahead of the movie, because obviously they're not going to see it.
Well, I mean, I think there's another reason they didn't show Venom is because
Yeah, the effects are not done.
When the trailer came out, they were like done with filming 3 weeks ago or something.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Venom's going to take a lot of CGI work, so that's probably why. But I mean, here's the thing with me. I saw Black Panther first time with my friend, and Venom came on, and he was like, "Oh, yo, Marvel logo, what's this?" And I was just like, and I recognized it right away, but he didn't see it, and I was just like, try to guess who this is. And he was like, I don't see any powers, I don't see anything. So then when the V came up, he was like, oh, what? This is Venom? What? I don't think we didn't need to see Venom, but it was poorly shot, I would say. Like,
Yeah.
I would rather have the movie kind of be a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing, with Tom Hardy really fighting with himself, not him riding a motorcycle, running away from government agents. That makes it look like a Mission Impossible ripoff. I do think the music was great, though. I really like the music.
Yeah. Another thing, too, that kind of bothers me in the teaser, even though I like the teaser, is the very beginning dialogue when he goes, everyone has their thing. A breakup, a death, an accident. Like, it felt really just awkward and out of place. Like, I felt if they would have just kept, like, everyone has their problems, and then...
That could have felt fan-made.
Yeah, like... No, like, oh, man, how do you explain... Like,
Well, the dialogue, at least. Like, I don't know. I was kind of half expecting him to, like, cliche, like, you know, like, really be cheesy and be like, everybody has their Venom. Something like that, you know? Like, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah, just seeing just those opening dialogue. Like, I felt like if they had maybe a few shots that would reference the Venom, like, maybe have, like, the news shot, like a shot of the news, maybe, if that's even in the movie, like, oh, Venom on loose in San Francisco, because the storyline is based in the storyline is based off the Lethal Protector series, which is, by the way, I read it. It's amazing. Like, I really thought it was gonna be bullshit, but I say the first couple of issues, it's not a filler, but it gets really good, and then like the last couple of issues, it starts to die down, but it's still like worth enough to read. And I know they're developing they're doing the same. It's based off both the Lethal Protector and Planet of the Symbiotes, but I think it's leaning more on the Lethal Protector side. I think it's a really good story to go off of, but if they would have included like a few shots of like Venom's name in the actual teaser and not just Tom Hardy narrating and running away from stuff, you would have got that vibe, like, okay, I know what this movie is for. But obviously, you know, like, I heard about, like, someone was talking about, like, oh, the general audience doesn't know who Venom is. I kind of find that false, because Spider-Man 3 obviously had Venom in it, and from when I remember when I was younger, everyone was hyped about Venom. Like, Tobey Gracer was about to play like the most badass villain on screen, and obviously we got a pile of garbage. But I'm positive for Tom Hardy that he really will deliver one of the best on-screen performances of an anti-hero we might get. But I just wanted to know like a little bit more about this movie, because even the teaser doesn't. I mean, you kind of know what the story is if you know what they're going based off of, but even so, like, you just have no clue what's going on. And I feel like for a teaser, you just need to show like, okay, it's based here. This is the location, San Francisco. It's based off this character, and then show a little something at the very end, like this is what the story may or may not be about.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Hardy's going to be fantastic. He's a great actor. He's definitely going to, like, Anthony Hopkins this thing if it turns out to be bad.
Yeah.
But, I think, Sony, I think if they just had a shot of his eye, like the symbiote surrounding his eye, and then you see it just turn pure white,
yeah,
that would have been enough for me. I didn't need some full-ass shot of Venom, swinging around going crazy. Just, you need to show us at least something of your title character. And I know that Eddie Brock is as much a big part of the story as Venom, but I mean, like, what if we got the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer and it was just Peter Parker walking around being like, well, we all have responsibilities. That wouldn't have worked, and it doesn't work with this.
Yeah, especially I know like Tom Hardy's face probably like sold it for some people. Like they were like, oh, okay, Tom Hardy. He's probably like, they probably know Tom Hardy. I wouldn't say he's a household name, but he's big enough to know who he kind of is. Because even like I'll tell my aunt or mom like, hey, have you seen this Venom teaser? It's with Tom Hardy. And my aunt was like, who's Tom Hardy? And then she's like, is that the quarterback? Because Tom Brady. But even so, I really did feel like you needed to see something relating to Venom, and you do have that even with the face and then the V at the end. Like someone made a joke in the theater, like, "Oh my God, a reboot of modern day V for Vendetta." Like that's like, come on now. Like I really do feel like in order to distinguish like the character, like your description is perfect. They should have showed like that white eye, like the white eye, like at the very end would have been just I really would have been like enough. Like the teaser for even Spider-Man, I think the only thing it showed was like the Venom crawling up his suit, and then the title card came. If I remember correctly, I'm not sure.
The second trailer did show Venom, but yeah, the first one was just all about the black suit.
Yeah. What else? I just want to tell this quick story. If you follow me on social media, you'll know what just happened. I did see Tom Hardy in San Francisco when he was filming here. Now, I didn't know he was filming here until like I think a week into production, and I started freaking out like, oh my God, I can actually go see this movie being filmed. And they were filming it, if you're from San Francisco or the Bay Area in general, they were filming it in North Beach. And that was the night I found out they were filming. And I was like, man, I really wanted to see it. And no one wanted to go. And I was very upset because I didn't want to go alone. It was like 10 o'clock at night. And San Francisco is very dangerous alone. But the following Wednesday, because when I found out he was recording, I think it was a Sunday or Saturday. On the following Wednesday, I went to a comic book shop in the West Portal area for you San Francisco natives. And I went to a comic book shop called Two Cats Comics, and I picked up my Doomsday Clock issue number 3. I walk out, and I look to my left because there's this crowd. There's a fire earlier that morning, by the way. So there was this crowd. And I look to the left, and I'm just looking, and I see this guy. I have my glasses on. I see this guy walk out, and I'm like, oh man, wouldn't that be so cool? Like I was thinking, like, man, what if I see Tom Hardy on my way here? And as soon as he walks out, it's Tom fucking Hardy, and I'm over here freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, Tom Hardy! And I see him. And I go, Tom Hardy, and he looks at me, and he's like, "What's up?" Like like how like just greeting fans. Like he was like, "Oh, what's up?" And as soon as I say that, his security bum rushes him, or not bum rush, but they crowd him because there's this big crowd that literally just bum rushes him. And this was in the middle of a coffee shop he was in, or he was just walking out of a coffee shop, and I see him, and I was like, "Oh man," I was freaking out because I just didn't know what to do. I was like frozen at that part, but it was pretty cool seeing him. I did really want to get a picture of him, but it was so crowded that you really couldn't. And I had to actually get on my bus to go back to school. But just seeing Tom Hardy there, that was something really cool. But yeah, the Venom movie.
That's actually a pretty cool story. I mean, I'd love to meet the fucking guy. Chill as fuck.
Yeah, he was apparently all over San Francisco. But that was just pretty cool. I was like, he said, "What's up? I'm good. I don't need a picture. I don't need an autograph. He knows I exist now." I walked away. But regardless, back to the Venom teaser. I do want to talk about one more thing with him. Are you curious to know who do you think the villain might be? Like, do you just think it might be like the Life Foundation, if you know who that the Life Foundation is, or do you think they might introduce Carnage? Because there's some rumors going on that Carnage might actually not be the main villain, but he might be like an end credit scene, which I don't see, just because I don't think Venom. I know Venom is probably going to make like enough for Sony to be happy with, but I don't think it's going to be enough for a sequel, especially since it's a spin-off.
Either way, though, I think they're kind of fucked. They really got themselves in the corner, because we all know the superhero cliche about, well, the antagonist is the exact same thing as the hero, the same abilities. So that's what you get with Carnage. So you get that cookie cutter kind of cliche. But then with the Life Foundation, it's the hero going up against the big bad government. That's another cliche. So either way, they're kind of backed into a corner now. If I had to choose one, a kind of pick your poison sort of thing, I'd probably choose Carnage, because I hope they really got to get Cletus Cassidy right.
Yes.
I really want this guy to be out of his fucking mind.
Yeah, especially since the way he's portrayed.
I would choose Carnage.
Oh man, there's the 5 symbiotes which are in the Lethal Protector storyline, but just because my theory is, there's going to be that 5 symbiotes. I think there are 5 symbiotes in the Lethal Protector storyline. They're all gonna fight Venom, and then Venom's gonna obviously get really hurt, and he's gonna fuck them up really bad. And then I think, like Cletus, I forget his last name. Cletus, what is his last name?
Cletus Cassidy.
Yeah, Cletus Cassidy. There you go, Cassidy. I think he's going to be one of the people who are working for the Life Foundation. He's not going to be completely insane, but he's kind of going to be like the Ant-Man villain, where like he's going insane trying to experiment on all these different symbiotes, and then he's going to be like, oh man, you just fucked up my symbiotes, blah, 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 blah. And he's going to be going insane and probably like eject something, and then have the symbiotes combined with him to form Carnage. Like, it's not going to be the Carnage we all know, but it's going to be like a version of their Carnage. That's what I think.
That makes sense. I can see that happening.
Yeah, just because I think more people know who Venom is than they do Carnage, if not equally. But I just feel like Carnage would be the right way to go. Like, I wouldn't do any, like, if they put Mysterio in there, I don't know what they were thinking. But I would have like just a noticeable villain for at least the Spider-Man fans to know, and for it to understand and intertwine with the story, especially with the quote-unquote Peter Parker cameo that we might have, which, I mean, I don't really see it happening, but if it happens, I guess it probably connects. But they would have a lot of explaining to do, especially with like, how did the symbiote get there without Peter Parker finding it first?
No, I bet I know who the villain is.
Yeah.
It's probably symbiote Wolverine.
A symbiote Wolverine?
Yeah, from Spider-Man Web of Shadows.
Oh,
that's a game.
I never played that game.
Yeah, you have to fight symbiote Wolverine. That's right. That's the bad guy. There you go. That's who Venom has to fight.
That sounds like the most badass villain I've ever heard. That's more badass than Venom Groot. Oh man.
That actually would be kind of cool though, because like, you really need to look this up after this podcast. You need to look up symbiote Wolverine's fight, because it's a really cool design, and it's a cool idea that hasn't been used again. I mean, I know I'm talking fan fiction at this point. If we could somehow get Venom fighting symbiote covered Wolverine, yeah, I wouldn't complain.
I wouldn't complain either, to be honest. You don't even have to show like the person behind Wolverine. Just show the 3 claws coming out, and you'll know like, okay, that's a symbiote of Wolverine.
Well, from the video game, it's a combination. It's not like Venom, where, you know, say Tom Hardy's going to completely be covered up.
Yeah.
With Wolverine, it was a combination. So like, you can see bits of his suit and all that sticking out.
Yeah. Oh man, I really want to look it up now, but I guess I'll do it. I'll do it after. But yeah, that's. Any final thoughts on the Venom teaser? Before we switch,
I'm not gonna give shit to the movie. I'm not gonna be like, oh well, the movie's probably terrible. I think it was just some guy at Sony fucking up badly, and also just poor timing. I really think what they wanted to get a Venom teaser out for Black Panther, so that it gets hype.
Yeah.
So they rushed it out, and this is what we got. I'm gonna wait until we get an official trailer, probably in July, I would say.
I wouldn't be surprised if they release it
before I start judging the movie. So for now, it's just the Tom Hardy action movie, and I don't care about that. But if I can get an actual Venom trailer in July, I'll probably be on board with it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they release it towards the Avengers Infinity War, or for Deadpool, considering the movie is rated R. But to be honest, I would rather have him hold it until Comic-Con, just so most of the visual effects are finished, and then we get an idea of the movie, of what it is completely.
Yeah, I can see them, like, 1 week before Infinity War. Oh, look at Venom trailer 1. I can see them doing that. Or Deadpool, or Solo,
Yeah, just something to where like the general audience can go see it and be like, oh, there's a Venom movie coming out in October. Like, I definitely got to see that. Like, it has to be a smart strategy for marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's our final thoughts on the Venom teaser. So we're gonna move on to the others. What I think we were just talking about this. Josh Whedon leaving Batgirl. Now, it was just reported yesterday that he was leaving because he quote unquote didn't have the script ready, or didn't have a script ready, and he wanted to leave, and he left. Let me pull up the actual quote here. Just give me a second. But he did leave, due because
He
of him.
said something like, "What's the sexy version of failure?" or something.
Yeah.
It's so cringeworthy.
Oh.
I don't like Joss Whedon at all.
Yeah, see, that's one of the reasons why I don't like him either. Let me see. Oh, here you go. He says, Batgirl is such an exciting project, and Warner's and DC, such collaborative and supportive partners, that it took me months to realize I really didn't have a story. As he reported to The Hollywood Reporter, I am grateful to Jeff Johns and Toby and everyone who was so welcoming when I arrived, and so understanding when is there a sexier word for failed? And the updated is sources tell Variety that the decision was mutual, and that Warner Brothers will now like a female director for the movie, for a female character like Batgirl. So yeah, what do you think about Josh Whedon leaving?
I think it's great news he's off the project. You know what I feel like happened? I feel like he walked up to DC's, he walked up to their office, and they were like, "Okay, Joss, what do you got for us?" And he was like, "Okay, just hear me out, guys. What if we made Barbara a stripper, and this stripper goes against her pimp, and she just casually dresses like a bat as her gimmick? Therefore, we can call it Batgirl." And they're just like, "Okay, get out." I honestly feel like that's the tension he would pull, because he cannot handle women. He cannot. And I'm not trying to sound like feminist propaganda, but he does. I know he created Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but even then, that's not how real females always act. They're very cartoonish.
Yeah, like, oh my god, I've read parts of his original script for his Wonder Woman solo film, which was supposed to come out a while ago. Actually, I think back in like the early 2000s, before even Patty Whedon, what's her name? Patty Jenkins. There you go. Patty Jenkins was supposed to come on board for the DCU one. But even so, there's a part in the script, the Wonder Woman script, where Steve Trevor is telling Wonder Woman, like, he's yelling at her or something, and he goes, "God, I just wish I could see more of you naked." And it's just like, what? Like, that's not a Wonder Woman movie I really want to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Joss Whedon's not the worst director in the world, I guess, but keep him with an all-male script. Just keep Joss Whedon on the dick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that on a shirt now. Keep Joss on the dick. Make it a hashtag.
Like, he's done some pretty good projects. Like the Avengers, I say it's pretty good. Firefly, I've heard some amazing things about it. I forget what else he's directed. I think he's
done a few TV shows. He's done Dollhouse, Buffy.
Yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think he did Kill Bill, if I'm not mistaken. So those are some of the badass female characters he's created. But just the way he writes for women, it's just very uncomfortable. Like, even we were talking about this earlier, the Justice League scene where Flash falls into Gal Gadot. That was just, it was just weird. Like, it's
like, I literally cringed in my seat when I saw that shit. Like, I was literally embarrassed. And, like, I went with my friend, and she was like, "I fucking hate Joss Whedon. I'm just seeing this because I like DC." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't blame you." And then the second that happened, I just looked over to her, and she just looked so infuriated. And I was just like, "Yeah, I understand."
Yeah, like, okay, Josh Whedon used to be a really good director from what I've like listened to. Like I haven't watched many of his stuff, but I know about his about the Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've seen parts of the Kill Bill series, and some of the other shows he's done, including some of the movies. But just the way he handles his writing is just very uncomfortable. Like apparently he wrote the very beginning of the Justice League scene. And I'm going to admit, that was a really well done scene. Especially if Josh Whedon wrote it, that's a really well done scene. And that's what I wanted to see more of. But the certain scenes with, like, let's go back to Avengers Age of Ultron when Mark Ruffalo casually falls on the Scarlett Johansson's, breast. It's just uncomfortable. Like, you can, like, they played it off naturally and stuff, but you can feel like that they were kind of uncomfortable filming it. And even for the Justice League scene, it was reported that Gal Gadot didn't even want to film it, and that they had a body double in it, and that Ezra Miller wasn't even comfortable filming it. But he obviously had to because it was either, I guess, his job or something. But Ezra Miller didn't want to film it because he felt uncomfortable. And even if you watch the scene, yeah, he's acting, but you can just kind of feel that like awkward tension, like they really didn't want to film that scene.
Yeah, you could tell. You could tell he wasn't a fan of it, and I wouldn't be either.
Yeah.
And Gal Gadot's beautiful and all, but that's not exactly the way to go about it, Joss.
Yeah, like just the way Josh Whedon handles certain characters, I just really wouldn't have wanted him on the Batgirl movie, especially after seeing like the movie The Killing Joke, like when Barbara Gordon falls in love with Bruce. God, just thinking about that. If we had seen something similar, I would have been done with Josh Whedon, because obviously I feel like he knows his characters, but he just handles them in his own sort of sexist kind of way. Not to get political, but like just
I don't feel like he's purposely sexist. I feel like he's like the parents in Get Out, honestly.
Yeah.
Like he's trying so hard to empower women that like at the same time he stereotypes them. Like, oh well, I have all these sex jokes because the body of the female is so amazing. It's like, yeah, but you're kind of missing the bigger picture, man.
Yeah, like it's just Josh Whedon just makes I just feel like he's kind of lost his touch. Like he's more writing for himself now. Like he's fulfilling his own fantasies of sort. Because back to the Wonder Woman script, yeah.
That's honestly a really creepy thought. That's uncomfortable as fuck. Ugh.
Yeah, like going back to the Wonder Woman script, Steve Trevor like rips Diana apart, and he's telling her all this stuff, and she's being catcalled in the script constantly, being called a whore, a bitch, all these different names and these different stereotypes. And back to the naked scene, it's just Josh Whedon handling a Batgirl movie alone. I wouldn't want that.
I think we definitely now with the way DC runs their films so far, I'm not going to expect Wonder Woman to be this. I'm sorry, Batgirl to be this like amazing thing, but at least they dodged a bullet with Joss. I'd rather have just a kind of mediocre Batgirl movie versus just a sexist Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we dodged a bullet. I'd say we're good.
Do you have any idea who do you want to direct the Batgirl movie now that they're looking for a female director? I would say just to keep it, if they really want to keep it safe, get it to Patty Jenkins, because I don't really know any other female directors. But I feel like if they,
I don't know. No, I mean, I kind of have a thing about that. In such a franchise like this, I prefer each kind of character to get their own director. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't like that with Zack Snyder. Like, Zack Snyder should have just done the Man of Steel movies, not Justice League, not Batman v Superman, because that wasn't the Man of Steel sequel, technically. I would have rather them handed it to a different director, not Joss, though he is. But, yeah, I don't know. I would really try to get a different director versus Patty Jenkins. I mean, I like her. I liked what she did with Wonder Woman, but I'd rather just have it be a different tone. I really don't want there to be a Wonder Woman 2.0 vibe from Batgirl, so I'd rather just hunt down another female director.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying too. Like, the way they did it with like Christopher Nolan's trilogy, like it was constantly Christopher Nolan, and like what else? What other examples are there? Like Ryan Coogler directing the Black Panther sequel, possibly. I feel like, yeah, the directors, when they originally direct their character, should stick with that character. Because when you bring in a new director, it kind of throws off that entire vibe they made with that movie. Like, for example, the recent Star Wars movies, how J.J. Abrams filmed the seventh one, and then I think Ryan Johnson was the guy who filmed the eighth one, and it was like completely different tone from The Force Awakens. And now we're gonna go back to J.J. Abrams again with the new Star Wars movies. I feel like you should keep one director on the project, and just that's all. I wouldn't want, like you said, another director helming the same title but a different tone every time.
Well, I mean, with Star Wars, it's a little bit different. I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, honestly. People say Marvel or DC, and I respond Star Wars. That's how much I love the movies. Like, with the original trilogy, you had George Lucas. He directed A New Hope, and that movie was okay. Then you had Irvin Kershner. He did Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And yeah, those are completely different tonally from A New Hope, but it's for the better. So sometimes it's okay to change up your directors, but it more fails than succeeds, I'll say.
Yeah. Just the fact that I kind of get that, but like you said, back to the Zack Snyder thing, you could really tell, like, especially since he did Man of Steel and Batman Superman and Justice League, you could really, even though he was the same director too, like, you could really feel those different tones. But yeah, going back to what you were saying, like, I really do feel like, yeah, they should have kept Zack Snyder only for the Man of Steel sequel. Now, I actually enjoyed Man of Steel. Most people really didn't, but I think he did that movie, like, fantastically. But yeah, back to the Joss Whedon leaving the Batgirl movie. I say the project's not doomed necessarily, but if they don't find a director soon, I would say it would probably go back into, like, developmental hell with all these DC movies coming out. Like, we have a Deadshot solo movie coming out and a Deathstroke solo movie, and
Gotham City Sirens,
Justice
League Dark,
a Joker versus Harley movie. Like, I feel like
Harley
DC
solo movie.
Yeah, DC doesn't quite necessarily have a slate. They just know what they're doing, and they're just like, okay, let's take 2 movies and then make them. So the next 2 movies are Shazam and the Wonder Woman sequel, and then after that is now reportedly the Flashpoint movie and the Batgirl movie. But I feel like if they don't get a director soon, or even like just get a start on it, even if a writer, since Joss Whedon did have no script, it might just be canceled altogether. Especially with this new Joker film that's coming out. Did you hear about that?
What?
The new Joker film, origin film that's coming out, and apparently it's going to start filming in May.
Yeah, I mean, when I hear the words Joker origin, I don't think of say The Killing Joke, which yeah, that's technically it. When I hear Joker origin, I really want to see kind of like what Tim Burton and Christopher Nolan did, where the Joker takes over the mob. Like, you just see him taking out these crime bosses and manipulating people to work for him, and by the end of it, he is well established in power. That's what I want to see in the Joker origin movie. Not, oh, here's the chemicals, or here's this or that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. To the Joker origin movie, we're kind of switching topics now, but I kind of want to talk about this too. I'm kind of curious on how they're going to do it, but I'm not very, like, I don't have high hopes for the project. Especially since it's an Elseworld. Yeah, especially since it's an Elseworld movie and Jared Leto isn't starring as the Joker. You're just going to confuse the general audience. Like, unless you come out and say this has nothing to do with our movie, you make it under a different studio and not Warner Brothers. Well, obviously it's Warner Brothers, but if you make it under a different studio and you make that connection like, hey, this is not the Joker you know in our universe, it's an Elseworld story. Because they want to start making Elseworld stories. But the Joker origin film, I feel like it's, even if it does get made, it's going to be hard to not market, but it's going to be hard to like to prove to people like, yeah, this movie, you have to take it seriously. It's a DC movie. We're doing a Joker origin, but it's like, well, for the Joker origin project, it's kind of going back to Venom. Like, you can't necessarily do a Venom movie unless you know what you're doing. So it's like, what would even be who would Joker go up against? Because obviously you have to have the villain. You have to have somebody go against Joker. Who do you think? Going back to the mob bosses thing, I would say the best thing would be Black Mask. But even so, Black Mask is rumored for the Gotham City Sirens movie. So I really just don't know how they're gonna handle this movie.
They could do Harvey Dent. Oh, the DA's on my ass. Maybe.
but that's the thing too. He's a DA, so it's like he's not necessarily on the field unless we get like a different origin story of Harvey Dent before he became the DA and he was like on some like SWAT team or something or like city task force.
There's really no win with this. I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, like
Weird.
oh, it's really out of place. Even if they're supposed to make a Superman Red Son movie, which is like how are you gonna do another Superman movie with Henry Cavill still as Superman? Like you're gonna have to convince people this is another Superman. People are gonna be like, what movie is this? Like you're just gonna be confusing the general audience. Like at least with Marvel, you know it's not a Marvel Studios film because it was obviously somehow the movies connect back to the MCU. But like with Venom, like you know it's a Sony film because you know there's no side of Spider-Man, there's no side of the Avengers or X-Men or anything like that. It's just its own film in its own place. And with this film being in its own place, I feel like if they really want to do something with it, you know, you're gonna have to throw in familiar characters like Batman or Harley Quinn or like Robin. But it's like, how are you gonna do that if you already have a live screen version of Batman and a live screen version of Joker and a live screen version of Harley Quinn? I just don't know what the direction this movie is supposed to be.
Yeah, I would honestly abandon ship with it. I mean, if you're really, really being like if DC's really stubborn and like, no, we're doing this, I would do it as like an hour-long animated movie. Because at least then if it bombs, it's not going to be to the general public. Because, you know, the animated movies get nowhere near as much press coverage as the live-action ones.
Yeah.
So, if you really need to do it animated. That's what I say.
Yeah, I feel like you're right about that. I think they could really do a Joker origin film as an animated movie because the animated movies are doing really good right now. Like Gotham, what is it? Gotham by Gaslight. That was a really good movie, especially the twist. I won't spoil the twist, but it was just a really good movie, especially with it being an Elseworld story. They could really do it. I say they would have more creativity if they do it animated style.
Yeah, I do need to watch that. I admittedly missed out on that. I could do that this weekend.
It's really good, honestly. Like I didn't expect much of it, but it kind of like I had low expectations, but it obviously exceeded those low expectations. It's not like the greatest movie of all time, but it's a pretty good movie. Like I'd say I would watch it again if I had free time.
Yeah, I'll check it out and I'll let you know what I think.
For sure. It's I think you'll like it, especially if you into like a steampunk kind of vibe. But it's definitely a good movie. Yeah. So finally onto not our last topic, but one of the last, because there is one more thing I want to do. The Black Panther movie. This came out as we're recording this literally a week ago. I saw it opening night. Did you see it on opening night as well?
I saw it a few days later, Saturday night.
Saturday night. This movie, even though you know we all predicted it was going to do really good, it really blew it out of the water. Like in 4 days, it became the best-selling, I think like the 5th best opening weekend of all time. And from my personal experience working at a movie theater, it was literally insane. Like even though I wasn't working there, I saw it once here in San Francisco, and I saw it the second time in my hometown. And my movie theater that I work at, because this is where I went to go see it the second time, we are never packed for any movie whatsoever. Like, regardless if it's a superhero movie or like a Jurassic World movie, it's never packed. Even if it is, like, I think the last time it got really packed was the Jumanji showings, but even those were the only showings that were like, they weren't selling out, but they had a pretty big crowd. But when I went on Saturday, which it's still the only really good day we have are Sundays and Tuesdays because of our $5 deals. When I went on Saturday, every single showing was sold out, and I was lucky enough to get the 8 o'clock showing. And that's just insane.
Same thing happened with me. I went with my friend Saturday night, and we were going to go see a 8:05 showing, and I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be really lit. Let's have fun. He even was like, I don't like Marvel movies, and I was like, yeah, man, I told you. I've heard that this is like the least superhero movie out there, which I actually would agree with, but I can get into that later. And when we came up, we were like, okay, Black Panther 8:05. They were like, sorry guys, sold out. I was like, what else is there? Everything is sold out except a 9:45. You can snatch that, and we did. And the guy was like, hey, you might want to come like 50 minutes early to get decent seats. And we did. We got right in the middle. It was terrific seating. My second time seeing Black Panther was abysmal, but I can go into that rant a little bit later.
So just to give my basic review, I thought it was really good, and we did talk about this earlier. I thought Claw was one of the best on-screen villains we've gotten in a long time. I'm not just talking about like comic book villains in general. I'm saying his performance was like not out of this world, but it was something you really haven't seen before. Even though you can draw comparisons to certain characters, like I really did enjoy his character, and I really wish we're gonna get into spoilers here for Black Panther if you haven't seen it yet. But I really wish they would have kept them, like just kept like you said, locked them up or something, because I felt like he had a lot more potential than what he did in the movie. But just seeing him on screen, like he really did steal the show every single time he was on screen, and I really enjoyed Andy Serkis' performance, and I really wish we would have gotten to see more of him.
Yeah, I mean, that fucking SoundCloud joke just had me dead. That was honestly probably one of the funniest jokes in all of Marvel's history. But yeah, he was a terrific villain. I loved him. Every second he was on screen, it was a marvel. I didn't mean to do that. But he was just, I loved him. I loved every moment of him. He was a lot better than he was in Age of Ultron. I would say they really fleshed out his character here more. I do like how he held his own in that firefight. They didn't just he didn't just go out like a punk-ass bitch. He kind of held his own there, and that was nice. I really thought the arm cannon thing was so cool. I like how, at first, when I first saw the movie, I thought, oh, okay, so they used Andy Serkis' real hand, and in the scenes that it does shit, then they CGI it. No, you can actually see, if you stare at it, you can actually see, like, the cracks and all that on the hand, and it definitely has that plasticky, like, look. So you can tell, like, yeah, they used his real hand, but they definitely put makeup on it to make it look fake, and I thought that was a cool detail I noticed the second time.
I didn't actually notice that.
Yeah, you can see cracks. You can see Andy Serkis is a really tan guy, but the robot hand kind of looked pale. It's very like white, like very like regular white, not overly white, but you can tell like looking at both of his hands. Yeah, you can see the right one's fake. You can see cracks in it, and the cracks are where it like starts to split open, where the cannon comes out.
Wow, that's the detail I missed.
Yeah, if you see it a third time, which I'm probably going to see it a third time, you can definitely notice that in the times where he's just walking around doing his thing.
Jeez, they must have put really good detail into that movie then. There's his makeup. Wow.
Yeah, you don't notice it at first because he's wearing the paramedic outfit.
Yeah.
In the robbery scene, you won't notice it there, but in Korea, yeah, you definitely can see it.
That Korea scene was fantastic. The action scene by Ryan Coogler, which again, I think this is his third film. He's such a really good director. And we were talking about this too. Like, I think he does have a future within his own career, but I would definitely hire him back for the sequel. The movie itself, I really enjoyed it. Like, I really thought it was a solid MCU movie. And MCU movies for me seem very like generic and the same formula at most. Like, for example, when I saw Thor Ragnarok, I enjoyed it, but it just felt like you could feel like, oh, this is just another MCU movie. But when you watch Black Panther, you get that vibe when you watch Logan. Like, yeah, it's in the same universe, but you forget about like this is in the same universe as the X-Men. Or if you watch like Wonder Woman, I don't know if you get that vibe, but you kind of get like, oh, this is a Wonder Woman movie, but it still exists in the DCEU. Or like just it stands on its own, basically is what I'm trying to say. Like, I really enjoyed how it didn't have to rely on like, hey, the Avengers exist in this universe. The Avengers exist even with the post-credit scene. But I really enjoyed how it like stood out to itself. Like, it didn't need like a big face like Robert Downey Jr. or anyone to really what do you call it? Like, nail the hammer. Even with Michael B. Jordan as the villain, I say it did a really good job doing as a standalone.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say with Wonder Woman. With Wonder Woman, it did feel very DC to me, but that's just me. But yeah, this did give me the Logan effect. I mean, I'm gonna go back to my friend. He was like, I have never seen a Marvel movie. I'm not interested in Marvel movies. I don't care for them. But after walking out of the movie, he was like, "Dude, you made me like a Marvel movie." Oh shit! I was like, "Yeah, there you go." Because it just doesn't feel like it just does not feel like a Marvel movie to me. Like it feels very James Bondish. Like it's like if James Bond dressed up in a suit and ran a nation. There you go.
Yeah, like, geez, T'Challa, even Chadwick Boseman's role, like I felt like that was like a really good like just performance, especially the opening scene where it's where he is crowned king and where he fights Man-Ape. I think that's his name. That's his name, Man-Ape, but they didn't put it in the film. He was like I really enjoyed every scene with Chadwick Boseman. I necessarily seeing him in Civil War made me more excited for the character, but I didn't feel his Civil War character, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, he's the same character, but I didn't feel the way he felt. It felt seeing him in Civil War. Like, he felt like this badass Union.
Civil War. You didn't really get his point of view in Civil War, so you really don't know what he's like.
Yeah.
All you know is, well, he wants to kill Bucky. That's all you get from it. You get literally nothing else.
Yeah.
So this was really knowing who he is as a person versus just really Civil War is the if you really I remember when the Black Panther first came out, someone was like, well, you know, he didn't punch enough bad guys, I didn't like it. Well, if you want that, go see Civil War, but if you really want like a character study, then Black Panther's for you.
Yeah. And the movie itself, like just thinking about it, how would I say it in words? I lost train of thought. It's just a really good movie in general. Like all the performances, all the side characters and everything were like just amazing. Like I went into this movie expecting to like Black Panther, but I went into this movie liking basically the entire cast. Like one of my favorite characters is Shuri, which is Black Panther's sister. She is incredibly smart, and apparently she's even smarter than the MCU's Tony Stark. The technology she came up with, like, just fascinated me. Like, I really wanted to see more and what she could do, especially with all that her sand. Her sand table, and the way, like, when you throw that little thing on the car, and it just makes up a hologram with the car. Like, I really like that technology, and I really want to see what she does more. Especially since there's rumors she might work on Spider-Man's suit from an interview. But she seems like a really interesting character. I really want to learn more about her. But all the other side characters, like Zori and I forget his name, Man-Ape. I'm just calling Man-Ape.
I think it's M'Baku or something.
There you go, M'Baku. I really like those characters, and at points you would forget, like, hey, Black Panther's in this movie because those side characters really did an amazing job. But you know, I really wanted to see more of them, and yeah, we didn't really learn much about them, and there are some flaws in the movie, but regardless, I really enjoyed this movie. Like, I really thought it was one of the greatest MCU movies I've seen since The Winter Soldier. And movies like Ant-Man and Avengers are the movies that I really like. And Ant-Man was one of the first MCU movies that really surprised me. And this movie, even though I knew it was going to be good, I felt like it was a lot better than I previously expected. Like, I kind of went into this movie with harsh judgments just because I was like, okay, you know, it's a Ryan Coogler film. Black Panther's a character that I really enjoyed, and it's an MCU movie, so I'm not going to really expect much, but it was really good. Like, it was, even seeing it a second time, like, confirmed my thoughts. Like, yeah, this is, without a doubt, one of my favorite MCU movies.
Yeah, I would definitely, it's my top 5, for sure, and I definitely can't wait to see it again in theaters, and when it comes out, I'll definitely love to see it again. I mean, they couldn't have gotten a better movie to predate I was about to say Civil War. Infinity War, honestly. This is, like, when you're doing your Marvel marathons, like, this is a treat at the end of it.
Yeah, because, like, what do you call it? Like, how do you say Black Panther? I just lost train of thought again. The movie itself, like, man, what was I saying? I really forgot what I was saying. Back to T'Challa. It really did feel like an amazing movie. Like, you really got the best out of these actors. Like, certain parts, like, you could really feel the emotion. The part where T'Challa, I forget who he is. I think he was fighting Maboku, Maboku, or whatever his name is. When he was like, "Oh, I am T'Challa, King of T'Chaka," and stuff. Like he really felt him like becoming that character. Even with like Michael B. Jordan's character, which blew me out, like blew my mind completely. Like his character was super good, and you kind of understand his viewpoint. Like a lot of reviewers are saying, you understand his viewpoint. Like you really kind of side with it, and you kind of agree with him. Like yeah, maybe the Wakandans are wrong with not sharing their technology. Like maybe they should share their technology to the outside world. And then seeing that when he was shipping them out, you were like, oh man, I was like, oh man, I hope he doesn't really get them out, because I don't want the Wakandan nation to be known for having all these weapons, but their first impression is they're literally taking out the world. So you could really feel like the tension between all the characters, and at moments you would forget it's an MCU movie. Like I found myself constantly remembering, like, oh, this is an MCU movie. This is gonna connect within the MCU universe. So that was really like cool to like see it like unfold.
Yeah, Black Panther was a home run, honestly. Coogler killed it, and up next is Infinity War. So I'm excited. I think Marvel definitely has been branching out more. It's been a lot more, hey, we're going to trust our artists and let them do their thing. So the future of Marvel's looking very bright.
Yeah. Even like I know people were upset because they didn't introduce the Infinity Stone, but honestly, I was extremely happy that it had nothing to connect back to. And the only part where it really connected back to was when they were like, "Oh, I'm gonna reveal Wakanda to the world," and T'Challa went to Oakland and revealed his little ship to the public. Like I really felt that. Like you could really feel like, okay, the MCU's future is gonna change. Like they were saying that with Doctor Strange, like, oh, it's gonna introduce the multiverse and magic to the MCU. But I didn't really feel like I didn't feel like it was gonna be a new thing to set forward the future of the MCU movies. Like this is the movie that really set forward, that really sets sail, and sets the future up for like bigger things in the MCU.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where they go forward.
Yeah, especially the post-credit scene where he was like, "Oh, we're gonna help the world in ways that you never possibly could think of," and the guy's like, "Well, you're a third world country. What do you mean you could help us? You could help us?" And there he just gave him that smirk, and I was like, "Whoa!" And that gave me chills. Like, man, a lot of stuff is gonna start changing. Like
yeah, that asshole, senator's about to get his mind blown.
Man, yeah, that movie was just amazing in general. Like I really did enjoy it. I gave it a solid 10 out of 10. But now, kind of thinking about it, it was like there are some stuff that I really wanted to see more, and there are some flaws. So it's like now the critic side of me is like 9 out of 10. But like just going in as a Marvel fan, it felt like it was a flawless movie to me.
Yeah, it's a 9.5 to me.
Yeah, it's just that good. You guys gotta fucking go see it. I really cannot wait for the Blu-ray to come out, because I can't wait to watch that. Even with the little MCU weekly thing where you have to watch a movie weekly before Infinity War, like I'm saving that movie for last. Like on the list, it was you were supposed to watch it the week it comes out, but I'm saving that movie to watch it again for last. So obviously I'm gonna have to work out that schedule. But Black Panther really is a treat. It's just super fun and cool. Yeah. So going on to Avengers Infinity War, this is the last topic we're going to do for today. We're going to go on to theories for Avengers Infinity War. Now, with everything we know now, we have the Black Panther, we have the Wakandans coming out, we have the Guardians coming to Earth, we have the Thor Ragnarok post-screen where Thanos attacked Thor's ship. What do you think is going to go down in Infinity War? Like, what do you think is going to be like the main, like, do you think they're going to kill anybody off? Pull out some major surprises. I do have a theory I just lost train of thought of it again, but I do have a theory of what might go on in the beginning, just so they know they're not playing around. But do you have anything to add to what they're going to do for Infinity War?
Well, I'm just going to come right out the gate. I think Iron Man and Captain America, dead. I think they're done.
You think they're dead?
I think they are. Well done. When it comes to the other characters, I mean, Hawkeye, dead. God knows, yeah. I would say some of the side characters like Wong, Doctor Strange's friend, he's probably going to die. War Machine's probably going to get picked off. Like, I would say a lot of the side characters are going to get wiped clean, and a few of the big ones. Like, I don't see Spider-Man, obviously, that's not going to die, nor Doctor Strange. I don't think Black Panther, although that'd be, oh man, can you imagine all this talk about a Black Panther sequel and he just gets killed off like that? But
no hesitation either. Hey.
I would say Iron Man and Captain America are for sure dead. I don't know. I think Thor is safe. I think Black Widow. I've been hearing about her getting her own movie, although I think that's going to be a prequel, like before the Avengers, so she probably can get killed off too. Scarlet Witch, yeah, we know Vision's going to die. They basically confirmed that in the trailer. Trying to see. Falcon is probably going to take up the mantle as Captain America, I would say. Those are my death predictions. Oh, I think at least one Guardian's going to die, probably Drax. Because, I mean, Drax's whole thing now is Thanos. Like, oh, Thanos is the one I need to kill. So, I mean, what are you going to do in Guardians 3 when Thanos is long gone? So I would say, yeah, Drax is probably going to go. That's it for me.
For me, I would personally put, in the very beginning, I think that's when we're going to first see Thanos. Because even the directors are like, oh, you're going to see Thanos and you're going to know he's a villain that's not playing around. So what I'm thinking is, it's going to start immediately after that post-credit scene we saw in Thor Ragnarok. And Loki, as we saw in the trailer, was trying to give him the cube because he knew he was there. But you can see Loki was afraid. So I don't think he's working with Thanos. But what I think is going to happen is Loki's going to take the cube after killing all the Asgardians. And Loki's going to be the only one sitting there. And then he's going to be like, thanks. Or whatever, and then I think he's gonna completely rip Loki to shreds. Like, I think to show people they're not playing games, they're gonna kill off Loki, and whether that be Thanos just ripping off his head himself or having the Black Order kill Loki himself, I sincerely think Loki will be one of the first ones to die. For other people, I would say Vision is most likely to die just because he has that gem in his head. I don't think Captain America and Iron Man are gonna die just yet because there is Avengers 4. So I would predict they would die after that because obviously they have to end it with just that. It's been 10 years, so I think they would have to end it there. I think you're right. I think one of the Guardians might die, but I don't think necessarily it'll be Drax. I think it might be Nebula might die. I think Nebula might die. And maybe Mantis. I don't think one of the main Guardians will die, but for sure I'm counting on Nebula to probably die just because of what happens in the comics. She might just go up against her father and just try to like completely fuck him up, but I think she's gonna fail miserably. Scarlet Witch, I do see dying. Like, I do see her being controlled by one of the stones, and Thanos showing her that he can revive her brother, but then her like snapping out of it like, no, my brother's dead, there's nothing you can do, and then Thanos is like, well, so be it, and he just kills her off. I think Wong might die, just because there's a sequel with him and the bad. I'm not familiar with Doctor Strange, but the other that one guy and the black guy at the very end where he kills off one of the sorcerers. I think the people who will get mostly wounded and that we might think will die, I think will be Spider-Man. Spider-Man might be like really wounded to the point where people are probably think he's gonna die. I think Iron Man and Captain America might be ones severely injured. It would be kind of a shocker to see if we see Black Panther get ripped to shreds, not necessarily killed, but like just completely beaten,
fucked up.
Yeah, to a pulp, to the point where people are like, "Fuck, are they really gonna kill him off now?" Like, just convince people.
Yeah, I can see him get. I mean, a lot of the heroes are gonna get bruised the fuck up. Yeah, I can definitely see a few arms being broken. Yeah.
Now the one thing I really do predict that's going to happen is they're gonna flake everybody, and they're gonna completely kill off everybody in one swipe. Like, I'm talking about all 60 plus characters are gonna die in just one swipe. Like, something horribly wrong is gonna go on, and I think Doctor Strange might be the one to fix it. But I think Doctor Strange is going to be looking from afar, and he's going to see everyone die, and just everyone completely dead. And then he somehow gets the time stone back, and he reverses it, and is like, hey, we can't do this. This is not how we can attack Thanos. We have to attack him differently because you guys just all died right in front of me. So I sincerely think either everyone completely dies, and someone from the Avengers picks up the Infinity Gauntlet and reverses it, or it might be Doctor Strange sees everything goes down and he fixes the time just because he sees everyone completely wiped. Like, you see close-ups of Iron Man dying, Captain America, Spider-Man like dead. Every one of your favorite characters is just dead, and just one of them picks up the gauntlet and reverses everything.
That'd be interesting. I never really thought of that, but yeah, that'd be cool. I would say that'd be a cool scene.
Yeah, especially since you have all these characters here, you really want to convince people that you're not playing around. And once you get that feeling like an hour in, you kill off a few characters, and then you kill off the complete Marvel Cinematic Universe, and then people are like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like, people are probably gonna be bawling their eyes out, and then when they flip the time switch, you're gonna be like, oh, "Okay, they're cool now, they're playing games, but expect someone major to die." Now, for the major characters, like the main, like I'm talking about, like A-listers. If there was one person you would see really getting killed off, who would you see being killed off?
Iron Man.
Iron Man?
Definitely Iron Man, I'd say. I mean, Robert Downey Jr.'s hinted multiple times that he's looking towards the end of it. He's the character that started it all. He's the one that's been obsessed with, oh, well, what about the invasion? It totally makes sense to have him be the first character knocked out.
I see that happening where Tony's killed, and then Captain America's like, fuck, I fucked it all up. I should have never fought with him or whatever. And then he attacks Thanos, and then he dies, and then Bucky dies, and then all the Avengers die, and then, there's Doctor Strange. But yeah, I really think the A-lister who might die would be Tony Stark, just because that's the more reasonable choice to go with, especially since he was the one who started off the MCU. But I do see characters like maybe Thor dying off. I'm just predicting that Thor might go off just because they're kind of done with the character for now. I don't think they're planning on making any more sequels or anything with him. So I do see Thor dying at the end of this. Hulk, I really do see him like dying either early on or the very end, just because Universal has the rights to Marvel and they don't really has the rights to Hulk and they really don't want to work with them. So I feel like Marvel's just going to completely kill off that character because they really can't do anything with him. But the main person I really do think he will die is Tony Stark. But without a doubt, I really think most, if not all Avengers, the original Avengers will die. There's a theory that goes out that's saying anyone from Phase 1 and half of Phase 2 will die. And anyone who's from the other half of Phase 2 and so forth will survive. And those will become the new Avengers. And the new Avengers will consist of Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, even though we haven't been introduced to her yet, and Hawkeye, the new Hawkeye character. But I don't think Hawkeye will last either.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel's going to keep a lid on this. There's really no way to know, because they filmed both movies back to back, so it is one gigantic movie. So there's even the whole part 1 and part 2 thing. Really, we don't know until we see it. I think Marvel's they've done a great job of keeping everything under the radar.
Yeah, I feel like once this is really over, it's going to be like the end of an era. Like, yeah, there's going to be a Phase 4 or a Phase 5, possibly even. But once the Infinity War is done, I just don't see him doing anything else after that.
I mean, Kevin Feige has talked about there being, movies after. Well, there are going to be movies after Infinity War. Spider-Man: Homecoming 2 was confirmed. Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah.
And I believe Doctor Strange 2. I think.
Yeah, I think Doctor Strange is coming back.
But I at least know Spider-Man 2 and Guardians 3. Those are confirmed. So it's not like, 2019 is the end of the MCU. It's going to live on.
After this movie, I really do feel like we're gonna it's just gonna be the end of an era. Like, I really do feel like what do you call it? Like, once it's done, people are gonna really come out like, oh, it's not, what do you call it? They're not playing games. They're really gonna kill off like these major characters that we love. I don't know, just thinking about like what could possibly happen just like baffles me. Like, I really sincerely think they have to kill off a major character. Like, they can't just go with this movie and not kill off a single person. Someone has to die. And I feel like to show people that they're really not going to be playing games, they're going to have to kill off like one of the major characters. Whether that be Iron Man, Captain America, Hawkeye, Vision, somebody I feel like will get killed off, and it's going to be very major, and it's going to be very surprising. But I do feel like for sure they will kill off Loki. I'm not putting my money on it, but I'm just theorizing that they might kill off Loki from the first couple of minutes, just because he has that stone, and just to show they're not playing games this time around, they're gonna kill off one of the major characters.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people are gonna die for sure.
I think that's about all I have to say for that, honestly. Anything else you want to say?
I mean, until we get more footage, there's really nothing else I can add to it.
Yeah, because obviously all we got was that the first trailer and the Super Bowl trailer, but the Super Bowl thing didn't really do much. But I am excited for this movie, like, sincerely. And I don't know when tickets come out, but I'm for sure buying it opening day, because that's going to be one hell of a movie to go to, one hell of an experience, especially with the 10 years.
Yeah, the opening night's going to be insane.
Yeah,
sure.
Especially since it's like two generations have seen this movie, have seen this universe been made. So it's going to be really exciting to see how they pay it all off in like the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it for this podcast. Thank you guys for joining us if you made it to the end here. I want to keep this weekly. We might miss a week or two, obviously, because this is starting off. But I do want to keep this going. I felt like we did great work on this. But I really did enjoy this. So next week, I don't know what we're going to be covering. It might be one of the creative topics that I might want to do. And we might just do, like, in the very beginning, cover some news that we missed. But yeah, I felt like it was a good podcast. Good podcast. Solid.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah,
I definitely would love to keep doing this.
Yeah, this was really fun. Yeah, I want to get some guests on here. Like, I do have people that would want to come on here, so I might get guests on here, but not anytime soon. But I am thinking of bringing on guests for certain topics. But I think next week we might cover something special, like her own little game, like her own little topic, and not just going off news every week. We're gonna try and mix it up. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I had fun. So definitely, sometime probably next week. Either when this video uploads is probably gonna. I'm trying to aim for at least every Saturday, because if we record this, I'm gonna aim for we record this like the day before, or like a couple days before, just in case something else happens. But yeah, I do want to keep this going. This is one of the things.
That's a smart move.
Yeah, I do want to keep this going, for sure. I don't want this to completely like backfire on me like the last couple of podcasts that we've done. But this one's definitely fun. I've had fun with this one. Thank you for joining me today, Alex. It meant a lot, especially since I'm trying to come back to YouTube. Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love talking about this stuff, so I'm happy to start this up with you.
Yeah, for sure. We will start doing more of this. Alex is a good friend of mine, so we definitely start doing more of this next week. Well, I'll find out what the topic is. I'll probably discuss with you more after this, but I'm going to find out what else we could do next week. But for sure, I'm going to try and be here next week, even though it might be like one of the busiest weeks we're ever going to have, considering, college and school and shit about to go on spring break with all these deadlines. But yeah, I had fun, and hope you guys enjoyed this small podcast. Any final thoughts, Alex?
This was a really good start, I would say. I just really want to keep doing this. I would love to cover just different topics every week in just the world of comics and cinema and all that. And yeah, hopefully next week we can get something going. I can already tell you right now, though, in May, I probably could do a 5-hour long podcast about Solo. Yes, I'm very excited for that.
Same. I'm going to be completely free in May too, so there's a lot of stuff I really want to start covering, especially with that Solo movie. Actually, we should have covered it today, but maybe next week. Sometime we'll probably cover it next week, considering today I wanted to just cover some news. Yeah. But for sure, thank you guys so much for joining us. You can follow us on the social media links below. I'll put Alex's Twitter and stuff down below. Where can they find you, Alex? Go ahead and shout your shit out.
My Twitter is at AlexR1391. It's more mundane tweets, but, it's a nice way to get to know me as a person if you are interested.
And you can follow him also. Do you still do Twitch and YouTube?
I don't really do that much anymore.
I'll probably put your links down, just regardless if they want to follow you or not, because yeah, he does sometimes Twitch, sometimes, but not all the time, mostly because we've been busy. But you can definitely follow him on Twitter. You can follow me as well in the links in the description below, from Twitter to Instagram, Snapchat, all that good stuff. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Next week for sure, I'm gonna find out what topic to do. I'm gonna probably make it a very interesting one. But thank you guys so much for joining us on today's podcast. We'll be back next week, hopefully with some more topics and something special to cover. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm Enigma's Light, and this is Alex, and we're signing off. So we'll see you guys in the next podcast. Go ahead and say your goodbye, Alex. Okay.
See you guys next time. Have a good week.
Yeah.
Don't make good choices.
Well, yeah. See you guys in the next podcast. Thanks for joining us.